Hello, friend. I am so excited right now for you and for me. This reading has found you right now because your wish is coming true. Don't believe me? Let's hop into the reading and I'll show you why. Guiding our reading today, we have the Singer of Healing. When I was pulling the Fairies Oracle card to guide our reading today, I actually got this sense that there were a lot of guides who wanted to come through today. A lot of spirits, a lot of the Fae, a lot of these, spiritual beings who wanted to communicate. When we have this, Singer of Healing, she's, or he, or they, are coming through as a representative of the collective. So what we're getting here is more than just this healing energy, but this is an adequate viewpoint to do this reading from. Okay, we have the Ace of Cups. Okay, when I see the Ace of Cups, to me, this is the heart opening, card. This is the outpouring of emotional energy, of love. My time at work last night, I just had this outpouring. Situations, it was a Saturday night, I work overnights. Situations would come up, rushes to where you would have, in normal circumstances, you might want to say some choice words to individuals, but this outpouring of love that you and I are both experiencing right now didn't leave any room for negativity. It's just acceptance, understanding, seeing people as people, right? You are seeing this healing that you're experiencing, right? You've been working on your inner child, you've been working on your emotions, you've been working on regulating yourself, you've been working on this heart, right? Because you want to become the kind of person that is available and able to sustain a happy, healthy, beautiful, loving relationship. Now, you've probably, like myself, been looking on the outside for some external sign of love, right? Some sort of external sign of romance, of connection. And the thing is, the sign's been within you this whole entire time, and you didn't know what you were looking at. Just like I didn't know what I was looking at, right? It's like I'm pouring all this into myself. I'm becoming the kind of person who can hold and, support and nurture this beautiful kind of love. Where's the love? Honey, that's it. That's the thing right there. That energy. The fact that manifestation in its purest form comes from when you become the kind of person who can hold the thing that you're asking the universe for. You have this natural outpouring, right? We have the Star. Your wish is coming true. This is this. You probably found yourself just blessing other people, maybe sharing with strangers, not from a space of judgment, not from a space of pity, not from a space of even charity, just, hey, I see you, another human, you could use blessing, here you go. Not in the, I'm doing something righteous, but, I care about you because you're another human. The fact that you have come to this point within yourself where you love others just because they're life. You feel this kinship, this connection to what it means to be a living being, what it means to be a human being. Maybe you've been just realizing how you are related to all of the life around you, the plants, the animals. You're not separate from nature, you are that. This understanding that's been growing within yourself is in fact the evidence that you have a special connection coming into your life. You've been looking and asking for, something beautiful, something sustainable, healthy, whether that's romantic, friendship, so on. You have been you're doing the work, right? And you got to this point, this 9 of Cups. You came to this satisfaction within yourself, this fullness, this richness, and you just kind of, you're here, it's beautiful, you love yourself, you are full within yourself, right? And that's when it happens. That's when this tower moment happens. Not the destructive, devastating tower moment, but, the dam is breaking. You've been building up this water behind your personal blocks, behind your, your gardenness, right? You have your wall, you have your shield, and you're like, I want love, I want love, I want love, and you're just pouring it within yourself, just pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. But the thing is, if you have this limited space, no matter how vast it is, this finite space within yourself, and you fill it and fill it and fill it, eventually it has to go somewhere. And this is where you're starting to see this coming out. The love, the connection, the joy, just the natural outpouring that you see others, and you can love them without having an attachment. You can love other beings, other life, without having to need them to reciprocate to you. That is that energy you've been building up in yourself coming out. You now are pouring this energy out, right? The dam has broken. And it's not necessarily always, this explosive break, but imagine you got one, let's say, hole that got broken through the dam, and you got this little stream coming out. What happens when, water moves through space, right? Eventually it kind of wears through that, and the hole might get a little bit larger, the pressure might cause some cracking, and now this little stream, this love that you're experiencing coming out is really starting to, the cracks are spreading, and it's coming out, and it's like the dam isn't really holding the water anymore. You can no longer just hold this healing and this devotion that you've been putting into yourself. It's pouring out. You are feeling connected. Maybe at some point in your life, you were this 5 of Cups, okay? You felt disconnected, you felt left out, you got rejected, you got, cast out from the family, whatever the case being, right? You were this black sheep, and you've seen all this devastation, but you still had a little bit, that you used to sustain yourself. But the thing is, you have moved from this 5 of Cups to the 6 of Cups. Not only do you now have either these cups have been restored in some sort of fashion or replaced, you have even more, right? When God takes you away from the smaller family, there's an even bigger family. I'm getting inner child here. In fact, I'm getting 2 different faces of your inner child, or 2 different inner children in you. This inner child, this was your original child identity. Now this child, a little smaller, a little younger, a little fresher, is the love that you've been cultivating in yourself, the healing you've been cultivating in yourself. And your original inner child absolutely adores this for you. Maybe you've taken yourself out to get ice cream. Maybe you run around and play and don't care what other people think. And here's the thing. This puppy love, this fresh, innocent, no attachments, like, hey, let's be friends. This unconditional love you've offered to yourself from yourself is that inner reflection of the outer connection that you've been asking for. And by having this healing, you come into this full energy, right? Something that stands out to me at the full in this deck is the ribbons on his backpack, okay? You know, you might think of like prayer flags that you see, you know, in some cultures. This is your hopes, your aspirations, your dreams, but it's in a prayerful, spiritual kind of manner. You're not just merely thinking about the things you want, though yes, you do have this sharp, clever wit. You feel this possibilities, all these colors, this joy, this, you know, rainbow, that promise, you know, and you're ready to start out on a new adventure. Okay, you got communication coming in, the Eight of Wands. When I look at this Eight of Wands, you know, like, I get the impression that, like, the author of this deck, they kind of wanted this to look like ships, like rocket ships, right? Because you see the fire blasting. I usually don't see that. I see antenna, and I see Jupiter here in the background, this expansion, this communication, right? Somebody's wanting to communicate with you. Somebody's wanting to tell you something that they've been feeling for a while, and you now are ready to receive that because you have expanded. You have opened yourself up to a greater possibility. Even if you haven't known what that possibility is, you've said to the universe, I'm willing to let you show me. And that's where we get this Knight of Cups, okay? The romantic partner, the cheesy, you know, individual coming in, showing you signs of affection, maybe bringing you flowers, telling you silly jokes, wanting to, you know, flirt with you, take you on a date, whatever the case being. You got somebody who wants to communicate an emotional expression to you, saying, hey, I've got these feelings, I've had them for, you know, whatever amount of time, and I can't hold it back anymore. You can't hold this energy back from yourself, and they can't either. They're coming. Now, this is the part where we kind of like, you know, we're looking for signs, right? You're looking for these external signs. The Three of Wands, the ships coming in, right? You're looking out into the world, you know, I've been doing all this work, you know, I've been doing this manifestation, but you have this Five of Pentacles energy, right? These two guys out here outside this church, you know, feeling completely left out in the cold, hungry, you know, not cared for. And they don't even realize that if they were just walk around to the front, the door's wide open. There's somebody ready and willing to just welcome them in and help them and give them warm food, a warm place to sleep, you know, maybe clean clothes, whatever. Yes, the help is there, right? But you can't see the help because you've been traveling through the night, right? Metaphorically, this moon energy, right? It's sometimes, you know, when you're moving around at night, it can be a little difficult to see. You got the moonlight that makes things look, you know, distorted. Maybe something looks bigger than it is. Maybe something looks smaller than it is. So you got to kind of keep your wits about you, right, while you're navigating life. And you've got, you know, your old thoughts and, you know, whatever, you know, in your conscious and your subconscious that are telling you this could never work, yada yada yada, you'll never succeed, everything's going to stay the same. But here you are, this little Piscean creature in the water, just sneaking past, right? Sneaking past the negative talk, the self-doubt. You know, you're just kind of like, you notice it there and you're just like, okay, I'm not feeding into you. I'm kind of doing my own thing and I'm working toward, you know, my goals. And that has been the key to your manifestation, the Magician. You know what you're doing. You have the skills, you have the tools, you have the capacity. You have created a thing. And you've probably known for a little bit in some way or another that you've created a thing, but, you know, you've had that, you know, that conflicting voices kind of just howling, making all this noise because, you know, sometimes it's a little hard to understand the circumstances that we're in if they seem unfamiliar to us. And you didn't know what to do, right? You're like, okay, well, if if I can't see the manifestation of the love that I'm asking for, what can I do? Well, what you can do, what you did, was just work on yourself. This Nine of Pentacles, this self-made woman, this self-made man, you're like, well, this is something I can control. You always had this hope for a communication, right? She's got this falcon that, she sends out to communicate with the outside world around her. You have been preparing this inner world, but you've been listening, or you've been watching and waiting for communication, right? You have all these possibilities. The world, because you've created something for yourself, because now you have this stable foundation, you're looking out into the world and going, where do I go from here? Right? Well, where you go from here is all about your emotional, regulation, your emotional well-being. This King of Cups, he knows how to deal with volatile emotional energies, right? He's got this yin and yang on his cup. You know how to deal with the ebbs and flows, right? You have come to this point of this emotional stability, this ability to handle, the things in life and play. You have this dolphin. There are other dolphins in the card as well. They're a little trickier to see, but you have this dolphin, jumping out of the water. So not only have you've learned to regulate your emotions, you've learned to play within this. You have this joy. And it's come to this Ten of Swords. And this isn't devastation. The Ten of Swords means that you've reached this point where, nothing else bad can happen, right? You've got, all the way up to 10. There's no 11 of Swords. You have your Page, Knight, Queen, and King. But there's no 11 of Swords. So you've completed whatever, the challenges, the limitations, the difficulties, and you have this golden reflection on the water of the sun of this new day. Okay. So let's think about this Ace of Cups, that outpouring. The Hanged Man. If you can look at this inner change that you've been experiencing and realize that this, in fact, is more than just, oh, hey, I've been getting better with my emotions, but that you have, in fact, become the kind of person that can sustain and hold your manifestation, well, the blessing is even bigger than you expected. The Ten of Cups. Community, connection, fulfillment. This is the generational wealth of the cups. Just like you have the generational wealth of the pentacles is, the 10. This is the highest level of emotional fulfillment. You can take this incredible, exquisite emotional fulfillment of the Nine of Cups. You add just a little more, and it becomes so much, it just overflows into community, into relationships, into family, into this very, very rich form of love. Hopefully this reading has kind of helped you to see where, in fact, your manifestation for the love that you've been asking for is here, that it is forming. It's not that, hey, you've got this egg and it's gonna hatch. It has hatched. If this reading has been valuable for you, I would absolutely love it if you would leave a comment. If you don't know what to comment, go ahead and drop something, to help the algorithm, whether that's, for the algorithm, or even better yet, drop me a sunflower emoji, because sunflower is a spiritual guide for me, And you showing that will tell me that you see me and that you feel that connection. And it will also tell the algorithm that these videos are worth viewing. Go ahead and like the video. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to my channel. Head in, find a video that resonates with you, and I'll see you in the next one.